honorable guests, esteemed faculty, scholars, students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of your host, the Dean, School of Humanities and Languages, it is a pleasure to welcome you to this consultation cum interactive session on Ropuiliani Museum, organized by the Department of Social Welfare and Tribal Affairs, Government of Mizoram and Mizoram University. To start the program, let me invite Dr. Lalhriatzuali Ralte, IAS, Director, Social Welfare and Tribal Affairs, Government of Mizoram, to deliver the opening remark.
Respected Chairman, Professor Laltluangliana Khiangte, Dean, School of Humanities and Languages, Mizoram University, respected Dr. Kalyan Kumar Chakravarti, our esteemed guest here today, esteemed faculty, and my learned colleagues. First of all, I would like to extend my warmest gratitude to the people who are present here today for making your presence felt today in this momentous occasion. I would like to place on record, first of all, the prompt response and interest taken by Professor Laltluangliana Khiangte for realizing this intellectual forum beyond our expectation in such a brief span of time. And I thank him and all the faculty present here today for your valuable time. And I would also like to thank Dr. Ruth Lalhriatzuali, who is currently not present here, who is a very close friend of mine and our nodal point of contact with the university. And I also thank Dr. Kalyan Kumar Chakravarti, who is a well-known personality in Indian history, art history, anthropology, known for his intercultural and cross-disciplinary research and activism, for having accepted our invitation. He is a retired officer of the Indian Administrative Service of the 1970 batch, his Mizo batchmates being Mr. S.L. Sailova and the late Robert Shrangdola. He was also appointed chairman of the Lalit Kala Academy, India's finest federal fine arts academy, in 2013. He has written numerous books covering archaeology, rock art, art history, tribal issues, musicology, public policy, and the philosophy of religion and art. Till date, he has been providing technical support to the Government of India on these affairs, and now he is here with us to provide technical inputs and knowledge to the Government of Mizoram in our formulating the concept of Ropuiliani Museum. On behalf of the Department of Social Welfare, Tribal Affairs, Women and Child Development Department, Government of Mizoram, I once again thank him for accepting our invitation to visit Mizoram and to provide us with strategic inputs for fulfilling our objectives in the establishment of the museum, also known as Tribal Freedom Fighter Museum of Mizoram. Though we will be visiting the site tomorrow with Dr. Kalyan, I would like to apprise this gathering on the following information. Number one, Ropuiliani Museum has been initiated by our department under the support of the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India. Secondly, the museum is an innovation and the first of its kind in the state. It is meant to preserve and promote the Mizo cultural values, the Mizo tribal nationalism, historical events and chronicles, lives and stories of the Mizo heroes against colonialism. And thirdly, I would like to state that the asset's location is at KLC, near Falcon, next to the State Tribal Resource and Training Center, previously called the Tribal Research Institute. We have finished more than 80% of the physical target on civil works, and we are currently focusing on the curation portion and the art portion, where Dr. Kalyan's visit is focused. And sir, I hope that this session would prove useful in the exercise of hand-holding our commitment to champion this Freedom Fighter Museum project. Once again, I thank Professor Khiangte and his team at the MZU for hosting us and for having made all the necessary arrangement for this program, which I am sure will be very enlightening, and as enlightening as the presence of all of you who are here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ma'am. It is a privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Laltluangliana Khiangte, who is a senior professor in the university and is also the Dean, School of Humanities and Languages. Let us invite him to deliver his keynote address. Sir.
Respected Dr. Kalyan Kumar Chakraborty, Consultant TFFM, and Dr. Lalhriatzuali Ralte, IS, Director of Social Welfare, Tribal Affairs, Government of Mizoram. And here we have Lalhriatzuali, the librarian of Mizoram University, and so statutory officers, among the statutory officers, and we have here in our midst. Thank you very much, and all the names written in the program. Dr. Joseph Lalhriatzuali, please raise your hand. Raise your hand. And Dr. Samuel L. Chuango, please, all teachers of, professors, associate professors of the Mizoram University, please raise your hand. No. All from sociology department. Zirtir tu zong ka ban partu. Zirtir tu zong ka ban parro. Kan lom chu lom thu kan sui ache kachibai vek chu ni. Chibai ka buk vek chu wa. Medang zong ka ban parveru. Ban kan nei ve reng asin mole in tilau ti palang o alom ome ka nge ban nei zong el se dai la par lo bin ka ya okay kan lom man chiu lom thu Mizorama local zong hi namdang local zong hi Mizo thumal pani khatal chu zirtir antula kan zirti thinani Kalyanji, do you know this chibai, the word chibai? No, it's very bad. So you have 2 days. You are staying 2 days. Kalome chibai, that must be known for 2 days, no? And so, like other words may follow. Okay. Department of Humanities and Languages are used 3 languages: international language, English, and then national language, Hindi, and the regional language, Mizo. Chu wang chuan kan mang vek the ni ke ni department chuan kan zalen me ma trong thum in ro kan rel thei chu wang chuan trong pathum kan man hi tu hua thu suwa nghe ni tu man an soi sel thei lo ti he kan soi ma sa du ni chu chu ni sela. Today's topic, I'm going to say a consultative and interactive session on Ropuiliani. I called two professors, 2 teachers yesterday at my room, and so we discussed about this thing. And so this is the product of our discussion, okay? And so Lalhriatzuali, Dr. Joseph Lalhriatzuali, and Dr. Samuel L. Chuango, and so we decided to have the program like this, okay? And so consultative come interactive session will be very fruitful. I hope very fruitful. And so we will just use, we have to call it a day this evening. And so from that point of view, I welcome you. Ropuiliani, about Ropuiliani, I have to say, When I was introduced Ropuiliani in 1989 in the seminar, that was followed by the play on her in 1990. I was the first prize winner in Ropuiliani drama writing competition in 1990. All right. So 1994, I wrote this Mizo play, followed by translation into Hindi translation, which year? Okay, 1923. And so this year, we are going to publish the English version. I talked with Governor Hari Babu Kambampati, and so in his room, in his chamber, where he used to call he used to call this the lounge where he interacted with all those visitors. But I don't like to sit here, sir. In official table, I have to discuss with you. I said, and so in his official table, we have discussed, the translations of Ropuiliani into English, and I asked him to write forward for the book, and so he wrote it, and so in that he says, all right, that is very much in the book. As I sit here as the governor of this calm and quiet state of Mizoram, I am enthralled with the moving stories of our country's martyrs, the brave individuals who gave their all for their people and their country. Consume my thoughts, thinking back to my book, Brave Hearts. He produced Brave Heart books, and he gave a copy to me, which came out last year. I wonder what we might do to honor this respected local patriots. Recently, my attention was drawn to the esteemed Mizo playwright, whose works have illuminated the stage with poignant narratives. His favorite piece, Ropuiliani, published in 1994, unveils the saga of fearless heroine who defied British oppression. Without yet undoubted, she ruled the unwavering courage, resisting colonial rule until her last breath. The seminal work, translated into English and as Mizo/Indian Freedom Fighter, Volume 1, into Hindi, stand as a testament to Mizo resilience going on. Again in 1997, Dr. Laltluangliana Khiangte continued to captivate audience with Mizo/Indian Freedom Fighter, Volume 2, lauded by the Mizo Academy of Letters of the Book of the Year. This volume reveals Pasal Trakwangtera, an indomitable patriot who defied British subjugation. These tales, translated into Hindi and English, receive a widespread acclaim to portrayal of Mizo Valor. Volume 3 introduced the captivating narrative Van Nuai Thangi, Elias Ban Ai Thangi, celebrated as the romantic princess and the ambassador of peace. Her remarkable beauty and intellectual symbolize the dawn of an educated era for Mizo women. Van Nuaitangi was a remarkable woman who could afford to keep 19 Bengali maids and could even, sir, you were Bengali? All right, so take these words. 19 Bengali maids who could take them down to with her husband's house in terms of glory and fame. No woman has matched her among the Mizo women. All right. Additionally, the playwright's tribute to Chief Zakapa, the protector of Mizo women, further enriches Mizo history and dignity of Mizo women, earning him the title of champions of emancipation. He protected women from the predatory eyes of the superintendent of South Lusai Hills and the British expedition leader, who perpetually hunted for women. Zakapa refused to surrender to the British army, and the British military leaders even fled in fear he was up against Chief Zakapa. The 4 books are historical plays that chronicle the events of how the Mizo people challenged the British powers and protected their land through the heroines and heroines. The stories of these 2 ladies and these 2 heroic men exemplify the ultimate courage. The playwright has poured immense work and love into these stories, having them the treasure for the rest of the world to read. Okay, this is how he wrote. Hari Babu Kambampati is now unwell, and so he stayed in Hyderabad. As soon as he comes back, he will release the 2 books of mine, Ropuiliani and Pasal Tokwang. He promised just like that. And so he is the one who will be releasing this 2 books. I want to tell like a respected officers of social and tribal welfare department, and the librarian herself, and history and sociological department teachers. Okay, the importance of what we discuss with the governor is that I want to make a motivating site, Prerna style, in terms of Narendra Modi's language. Okay, Prerna style. I want to make it in Mizoram, I said. Whether we can keep it in Rajbhavan area or Mizoram University area, I said. He was very much interested in Prerna's style, and so he proposed to have it in Mizoram University campus. I don't know about this one Falcon program, and then the social welfare and tribal affairs program. Okay, I'm very glad indeed to have this kind of program, and so ultimately I have gladly accepted the letter of the director of social welfare, and so I want to fill up the gap of all these chairs. 80 people will be accommodated in this room. I thought that we will just do the same, and so from the social welfare side, no, 30, below 30 will be enough. They said, and so that I don't have, I did not try to fill it the whole room. Okay, that is what I would like to say. But apart from that, we have to give, popularize this, our heroines and our freedom fighter, just like that. Right from 1990 onwards, I tried my level best to introduce those people. Wherever I go, in national seminar or regional seminar or international seminar, I have presented 20 odd seminar papers on them. All right, and so just like that, we talk about Gaiden Lu of Naga, and Tirot Singh of Khasi, and why not, Ropuiliani and Pasal Khiangte as a premier freedom fighter from our state? That is my question. And in fact, they have to get Bharat Ratna as well. They deserve Bharat Ratna if Gaiden deserved it. All right. My way of thinking is like that. And so, in fact, the author of this book, I have placed like a tribal folklore, language and literature here, like published by Mital Publication, New Delhi. I have written these two people, two hero and then one heroines. Okay, and Khiangte, who sacrificed his life for the people of Mizoram. It should be noted that Khiangte, Ropuiliani, Subhash Chandra Bose, and Tirot Singh all fought for the British to defend their people till the last drop of their blood. They sacrificed themselves for the well-being of Delhi, well-being of India. So they deserve to be exalted in one way or the other. Let me name Khiangte, Ropuiliani, Subhash Chandra Bose, and Tirot Singh. I am waiting the time when people are awake and go for renaming Dum renamed as Subhash Chandra Bose International Airport. I want Lengpui Airport to be named Khiangte's Airport. Okay, and so you may not think like that, and so this is the area of Khiangte, operation area of Khiangte, the whole of Tlonglui and its surrounding areas. Khiangte chet lat nakhania, Khiangte kha heta hian aming kan putir nge turani kathi ma hian ni theise kadua ma se kathi nuwa po an lati tho in karing. These were awarded by Ropuiliani. Award is made. This was awarded to Rongmei Naga Lady Rani Gaiden Lu, who was well known in the central part of India. The award was given on May 20, 1988 at the first International Zoo Convention in Champai. Mrs. Rani Gaiden Lu, 1915 to 1993, was regarded by Jawaharlal Nehru as the John of Arc of Northeast India. Now we added the John of Arc of Northeast India in the person of Ropuiliani. Okay, perhaps he did not know the details of Ropuiliani's courage. The award in the name of Ropuiliani is one thing, but she is deserving more exaltation. We have a number of heroic figures in our history who were worth remembering, but it is for unfortunate that we do not acknowledge them as they deserve. The Kasi chief Tirot Singh, who rebelled against the British, is held in high regard. Will it be right to neglect Ropuiliani, who was as much worthy as Tirot Singh? We have to wake up and start taking steps, perhaps to exalt our heroine. You may like to say heroine, Ropuiliani. It may be suggested that the day she died, that is January 3rd, to declare as state holiday, another edition, state holiday, or perhaps to be posthumously awarded some of the popular awards given today. All right. In fact, we are saying so much. Others are there as well, but I may not say. Ropuiliani is worthy to be imitated as she possessed true love for her land. She did not change sides. Okay, she did not say, le lama orduma a orsen ti lampang kanelo. Le lama ordum lova a orsen lova ngeni drama tronga kan soidon chuan ngeni a round character nilo a flat pui truck mani flat pui truck in a ropui em. So we can admit that Ropuiliani was great by birth. We have a lot to learn from her bravery. Her brothers-in-law, who were the chiefs in different villages, wanted to surrender to the British whatever may be the reason. Ropuiliani stood unmovable against the British. It is a great wonder to see her strong will. There is a saying that a dog can make out the fierce and fearless. Likewise, the British were very sure of the fearless woman chief. They found her obstruction so that they sent away, even though she was old in age, even when she was put in the guard room at Lunglei, Mizoram. The British feared that the fearless look of the face of Ropuiliani might awake the hearts of the people. And so, they did it like that. So, I have a long papers of my keynote address. How many pages? 11, 12, 13 pages I have. But I will not read out everything, the content of this one. But the keynote is keynote. And so that's all for today. But once again, I'm happy to see these lines, okay? And so giving interest in Ropuiliani, the social welfare director and deputy director and all the team. And like this one, my friend, Kalyan Kumar Chakraborty. I was in Serampur College for 3.5 years. I have come to know that from the names itself, I can differentiate Bengali and non-Bengali. Yeah, all right. So that's all for today. But, a time will come when we realize this book in English, and so you must read it. Hindi, I hope you cannot read Hindi, and so that majority of the people in India, Bengali is the seven or eight languages in the world. Important languages in the world. And so tribal culture and folklore. And then Kwangchera is also, we have Kwangchera is also in English. This Kwangchera and Ropuiliani I printed together, and so that will be released together. Okay, and so maybe all of you may come for the release function. Okay, that's all for today. And so, just one thing I'll add. If I were, not there in this earth, you may not know the name of Ropuiliani. Ropuiliani is, I'm the first one to write the paper or the book in a book form among Mizos. Okay. In 1990, I got the award of competition, 1994 in book form. Okay, and so that is my pride. Sorry to say that. Okay, I hope you understand the problem of working with hard. Okay, and so that's all for today, huh? Kalome, thank you, Daniel. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for the inspiring, informative, and thought-provoking keynote address. It was very inspiring, sir, to share your vision and the way forward on how to promote these tribal freedom fighters in our state also. So thank you, sir, for the keynote address. Today, we are very privileged to have with us Dr. Kalyan Kumar Chakraborty, consultant, Tribal Freedom Fighters Museum, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India. His credentials has been described by our director. So, with pleasure, let us invite Dr. Chakraborty to address the gathering, sir.
Thank you, Professor Khiangte, for hosting this meeting in the university. And I also greet Dr. Ralte, who has been in touch with me for some time. I find that there are several connections with Professor Khiangte, which I must reveal. One is that I have been associated with universities, and the colleges where I studied, including the NEHU. I was also associated with the founder, Vice Chancellor, Mr. Dr. B.D. Sharma, and worked in the same area where he worked, and I've also met him. And as far as Shirampur College is concerned, my wife studied in Shirampur College also, and she lived in Shirampur. And as far as universities are concerned, I have also been Chancellor of the National University of Educational Planning and Administration. I am still associated with several governing boards of several universities. And then comes the museum. Now, about the museum, my ideas are a bit unconventional. because when Professor Khiangte visited the National Museum of Humankind, which I virtually set up, but unfortunately we could not meet. Maybe I have been away, and one of my juniors showed him around. But I transformed the idea of that museum. And here also, I came not for making the museum, but for unmaking museumization. Not for ex situ display in a small plot of land of a half an acre, but for in situ revitalization of Mizo culture and heritage. Not for collection of objects, but for recollection of idea of the Mizo culture and society and freedom. Not for making a museum of objects, but making a museum of ideas. Not making a museum to be visited only by the privileged who live in Aizawl, but a museum which visits the communities in the villages and in the tribal areas. So it is not for an urban crowd which will occasionally come there for regaling themselves, but for inaugurating a kind of a cultural resurgence in the area. So when I was requested to come here, I came here with that idea that ultimately the liberation, the struggle for liberation is not over. It has only begun. I mean, the liberation was only from British rule. But the cultural liberation, the spiritual liberation, the ideological liberation is still to follow. And that those seeds of freedom are germinating in the soil here. They don't germinate in Delhi or in Kolkata or in other cities of the country. So therefore, those seeds had to regerminate, and they have to be shown here. Now, why the university? The university, because it could be a multiversity. It could also work as a living nursery of Mizo culture and civilization, and truly fulfill the idea of a living museum, a museum of people, museum in which only curators don't work, who are trained in colleges and universities, but which are curated by the people also. For that to happen, it is nothing unreal, because I have done that in the museums which I have headed, including the National Museum of the country. But because it is all possible, one has to work with the people and work with them hand in hand for revitalizing their culture and their language and their folklore. And since much of the history here is textual and very little is written, so the contextual history is missing. Yesterday I was being told that the Mizos do not have a history before 1500. Absurd. You have archaeology, you have petroglyphs, so that history will go back 10,000 BC. I have worked with rock art all over the world, so I know how old rock art can be. So obviously your history you have not written. The so-called prehistory is also history, and the so-called archaeology and zoology and biology and entomology and bacteriology, it's all there. When we talk about the women, they are the conservers of knowledge on the ground, and in the backyard gardens they conserve the knowledge, and that knowledge, which we call by these names, bacteriology and entomology, they call by their local names and by the local terms of classification and nomenclature. And so the university could also work on sui generis intellectual property right, rather than on the foreign idea of intellectual property right, which is based on only fixed knowledge, fixed by electronic means. What about the unfixed knowledge? The unfixed knowledge, the oral knowledge. The oral knowledge which is there all over, preserved by the women and the custodians of knowledge in this part of the world. That knowledge remains to be harvested and protected. And when Dr. Khiangte has been talking about the rewards, this knowledge has remained unrewarded. And when we are talking about sharing of profits, etc., or you see bioactive characterization or other areas of intellectual property right, we forget that the biodiversity registers are not written in the local language. The biodiversity registers are not cultural diversity registers. Therefore, the registers have to be rewritten and they have to be protected. And this is the kind of work which the university can do. And so when we are talking about the museum here, I have seen the presentations in the Government of India. I immediately said that what kind of a museum it will be in a few decimals of land, I mean, with a little bit of hill slope, and crowded with all kinds of dioramas and with tribal figures, with the conventional objects, with few weapons, a few objects. It's absurd. It is not a museum of ideas. And so first thing, I mean, which they also liked is that there should be an open air component to this kind of a closed door museum. But where is the open air land available? If the land is available, if the university is ready to work with us, then maybe we could also set up some of these open air exhibits here without construction, because construction ruins the landscape. It will be a kind of an ideascape, not a, and the landscape of ideas, the mindscape of ideas. That is what we want to create, not construction after construction. I mean, what does it mean? A museum always begins with construction and there it ends. And then you fill it with a few objects, a few dioramas, and the dioramas have the same figures, which are made like in a factory workshop. I mean, with the same kind of ornament and same kind of jewelry, same kind of, dresses. Now, that is not, that is a conventional idea of a colonial museum. So, if you are not able to decolonize the museum, you are still not liberated. So, the liberation begins with the demuseumization, not with making it of a museum. And therefore, and the liberation, when we are talking about, let us say the Christianity, theology, yesterday we discussed that also. Christianity came and people were Christianized, the tribals were also Christianized. But is there any conflict between modernity, having modern facilities, and having cultural liberation? I don't think there is. You can have both, and that is easy to demonstrate, that you can retain your culture and still you can have different religions without losing your own culture, which cuts across all religious and denominational boundaries. So it is this kind of world that we want to make. And so far as this symbolic recognition is concerned of the tribal freedom fighters, certainly. But this will not be done only by giving Tamrapatras and Bharat Ratnas and other awards which are given by the Government of India. It is by enshrining them in the heart of the people and by, creating a kind of an itinerary throughout the state. This state could be the first state where all these chiefs, like including these Khwangchera and other freedom fighters who laid down their lives, those areas are marked. Those areas marked by with local stones, with local narratives and their local houses, and so that people go there as a matter of eco-tourist museum itinerary. I mean, because you visit this museum, if you urbanites visit the museum, what kind of a museum it is? How many footfalls will be there? I mean, once you link it up with all these sites where the battle took place, where the actual blood was shed, where there was, these stories that she traveled in a palanquin. She refused to and she died in a prison. I mean, there were people who committed sacrifice, they committed suicide because they could not bear the life in the prison. I mean, they did not want to survive in a prison. They just preferred to die. So, and then all these British officers, including Captain Lalwin and others, they were praising the Mizo warriors for their battle strategy, for the guerrilla warfare, for the way they tackled, the local landscape, and how the British, with all their heavily armored cavalry, etc., could not deal with it. So that contrast is what liberates you. And it is also the stories of chivalry. I mean, like heroism and chivalry. The way, for instance, the hero would take the knife out to commit kind of a Japanese harakiri, but he would be shot instead because they would not understand the gesture. The lack of chivalry and the presence of chivalry on the other side, this is what is to be contrasted. And then similarly, the heroic way in which these chiefs, there are so many chiefs in different parts of the state, I mean, whose names are known. I mean, I cannot pronounce the name properly. Lal, I mean, is always Lal Burha, etc. All those names are there. I have the names. So those chiefs also deserve to be celebrated in their own place. And that kind of a museum, which is networked with this museum, will make it a living museum. And these battle sites of, all these, I could not visit them because, I mean, though I wanted to visit them, because Delung one cannot go. And you see, in this kind of weather, in the roads are all eaten up, and one cannot even go up, half a furlong to see a site. I mean, so it was impossible to imagine the landscape of ideas which evoked all these battles. So it is important that, I mean, for instance, Mary Winchester and James Winchester, and you see the story of the, assault there, and the way she was adopted like a grandchild and looked after. And there were other women also with, Mary, and other children also with her. So that story deserves to be shown, I mean, as a worthy, memorial of the chivalry and the generosity of the local people. They didn't, I mean, so this is, can you evoke it through a diorama? Can you evoke it by display of a few objects on the wall? You cannot. So obviously, we are missing the idea of a museum, and you are creating a colonial museum, a British museum. And if you have not yet been able to liberate yourself from the idea of a colonial museum, you have not liberated yourself. So therefore, it is the university which can help in that kind of a ideological liberation, and also try to help create the, field, like, chiefs Leng Bongta, and I cannot pronounce the names correctly, and also these other areas, Chittagong, Hazaribagh, Sylhet, then Burma, where, and then people were imprisoned outside, and then there has been an exchange. So there is a Mizo idea of a Mizo world. So you have, I'm not talking about a political, Mizo world. I'm not talking about creating a physical Mizo domain, but you can create an ideological Mizo domain. You can create a kind of a diasporic beat, like the Bengalis also have in Kolkata. There is a all-world Bengali Sammelan in Kolkata. Similarly, you can have an all-world Mizo Sammelan here. And along with that kind of a cultural meet, you can also request them to invest, because they are talking about money. Now, I mean, everything is not made by money, because as soon as you get money, you create a big building. And I have been advising all over this country and even in Gujarat. And first of all, they think of a big building. That building has nothing to do with tribal culture. That building is a monumental colonial building with no tribal element in it. You do not have the jol book, you do not have the local architecture, the timber, the straw, the bamboo, the slope, nothing is there. So you create an alien colonial building and then you want to house a colonial museum there and you call it museum making and liberation. It is not. It is not a museum of freedom. It is a museum of unfreedom. It is a museum of further colonizing the state. So therefore, it is most important that these ideas are deconstructed, and we also look at the, I have suggested that the Paul Kut and Chapchar Kut and Mizo poetry and the Mizo songs, the local Mizo band, I mean, which plays with drums, etc., but uses foreign tunes. But they can also recreate themselves for playing the local folklore and tunes and songs. So it is that music and the poetry and the folklore and the festival and the oral tradition which takes your history back to maybe 20,000 years, 30,000 years, not 1500 AD, my foot. It is absurd. It is obviously a distortion of history. It's a misreading of history. It's a misunderstanding which should be removed by demuseumization. So this is what I asked for, and I feel that it is all feasible because I have got it done in different places of the country, but then it has remained unfulfilled because I have moved out of that area. I created an open air museum in Raipur as additional chief secretary, but that remained bogged down in big statues, etc. That's all. Because they could not go, the concept was given, but the concept could not be understood. You see, the President of India came, I mean, this Professor Abdul Kalam, and I met him also. He appreciated the concept very much, but there was nobody like him who could understand the concept and execute it. So it is the local people who can understand the concept and execute it, not museum makers. It is museum unmakers that we need, not museum makers. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was an eye-opening speech, I think. You have discussed so many things, like the points that I remember are like landscape of ideas, decolonization of museum, new concept of museum, traditional keepers of knowledge, how women, pass on knowledge from generation to generation. All those things, I hope it will reverberate into the head of our important people who can do the change, who can bring the change and put in initiative, innovative examples and set good examples for the country also, so that Mizoram could be among the first to set up different and innovative things that other people from the country can also look as an example. Thank you so much, sir. Now we will have an interactive session which will be conducted and chaired by our host, the Dean. Sir.
Interactive session kan hon dira interactive session ajan episode ini alo kalau tak lo maya Professor Zari it hey kan program aya electric van antam kop maya electric van
boy puiniom takania mase pinay zovi kan so ma piriati asoy man saber kani boka kan compare laka electric van ani boka electric van in deputy director electric van in min overrule ani de bere mase poilo remruati hi local thei talova ani po local hui huna chuan vote of thanks isoyanga isoilo chuan isoi manai local lo chuan kasoi mayang katia chung vel chuni Dr. Joseph Lalhriatzuali on historical perspective hi kan som ma sa anga ti chuan au pat danin dotin kan rema ti chuan Dr. Samuel kha kan som le ang i ti chuan minute som vel han be pot salangin atulani chuan discussion khan kanin don mia oh
Professor Tluangte, I'm glad to be here today to speak on Ropuiliani in world history. Yesterday, I was invited to present paper in the Secretariat, and I presented one PPT on Mizo history, chronology, etc. Here, Dr. Kalyan, I'm very happy to have met you and your ideas regarding decolonization of museum, decolonization in general. And I would like to say that these are the things that we've been doing in our department, history department. For example, we are trying to decolonize our syllabus, our papers on history of Northeast India, for example. Earlier, the contents of such papers include British policy towards Mizo Hills, British policy towards Naga Hills. So they have been, let's say, biased, created from, perspective of Europe or British. So here today we are trying to recreate or, restructure our syllabus. And they will now NEP syllabus now contain things like Mizo chiefs' policy towards the British, how the Mizo chiefs, looked at the British, the invaders, not like colonizers, but we also want to use such words as invaders, intruders, something like that. So the Nagas' policy towards the colonizers, etc. So these are the things that we've been doing in terms of decolonizing the curriculum. And then, as far as museum is concerned, we are also, absolutely in agreement with your ideas. And regarding this Ropuiliani Museum also, that's why I've prepared one paper today, presentation. I want to, locate Ropuiliani in world history as a key player in world history. And then when we try to understand history, I think, especially histories of tribes in Northeast India, I think we need to be very, sure about the methods and methodologies. So I begin the presentation with such explanation of some methods and methodologies, and at the end I enter into world history. Where is the place of Ropuiliani in world history? The history of Mizoram and the Mizo people extend far beyond the present boundaries. Now, our histories are found in Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Manipur, Assam, and Tripura states. And then future generations, maybe current generations of scholars, they will go to Myanmar and China to find, evidence, sources. And this year, there is this new author, Laltluangliana. He's a Mizo who's settling in Burma. He wrote a book in 2017. So he can speak Burmese, and for 30 to 40 years he has been hunting for sources to explain the origins of the Mizo people. He is well versed in Burmese. He went to libraries and archives in Rangoon, in Mandalay. So his book is also it's an eye-opener. It's a new book on new interpretation on the history of the Mizo people. And then we have material culture, languages, folklores, myths and legends, and studies of migration, plus comparison of ancient DNA with living population. These are some of the sources that we'll be using in the future. And I would like to mention how the digital age, the age that we are living today, is affecting us all, especially in terms of collecting sources for history. Like 10 years back, 20 years back, scholars used to go to archives in Assam, archives in West Bengal, in New Delhi. They spend weeks and weeks, months and months. Now, we don't need to do that now. So, from the comfort of our homes, from our rooms, we can do archival research, we can finish reading all the Mizoram, content in West Bengal State Archives, for example, in 1 week. So, earlier that used to take nearly 1 year. So, but that kind of accessibility to, online accessibility to, resources also change, and it will going to change how we do historical research. And yeah, just 5 minutes or so. These are the widely used online resources that we are using in historical research. And here today we are speaking of world history, global history, transnational history, new global history. So these are the latest approaches in writing history. And in Zomia, this is a concept that was coined in 2002, William Van Schendel. Here he said that the highlands of Asia from western Himalayan range through Tibetan plateau, they share political and historical entity, significance like culture, religion, all these things in like area of Central, South, East, and Southeast Asia, shared history, shared culture, language, etc. And then Himalayan, Trans-Himalayan studies is the latest approach to studying the history of this area. And then, so Joy Patsou, the Mizo historian, also says role of Northeast and Mizoram in the wider networks of trade, religion, commodity exchange, and mobility of people in the transnational network. So, sir, what I am trying to say is, let's not study the history of Mizoram within Mizoram only. Let's look at the broader picture. Let's look at Trans-Himalaya. Let's look at Zomia. Let's look at Southeast Asia. So, the affinities between all these regions should be looked at in order to fully understand. And so these are two interrelated terms which we are using, many scholars in Northeast India are using to understand the history of Northeast India. And these are existing writing, literature available in the history of Mizoram, colonial ethnography, colonial reports, missionary writings, periodicals, then writings by Mizo in Mizo language, writings by Mizo in English, writings by non-Mizo in English, for example, Suhas Chatterjee, J.D. Baveja, etc., and others. And oral tradition, these are the books that have embodied the Mizo oral tradition, beginning with Reverend Liang Khaya, Mizo Chansin, 1938. So throughout the subsequent decades, these are the early educated church elder, pastors, etc., government servants. So these are the books that embody the Mizo oral tradition that we know. And where is or was Lalnu Ropuiliani in the sources? Now, official letters and correspondences in the archives, late 1890s. Now, we know that she was mentioned along with her son Laltluangliana as, enemies of the British, so they were sent to prison. But from 1900, such periodicals as Mizo Levites and Sinbo, from 1902 to 1941. For 40 years, this monthly magazine was issued regularly. Editors used to be Mizo, but under the guidance of the British. There was nothing mentioned about Lalnu Ropuiliani, a great Mizo chieftainess who resisted the British. Some Mizo chiefs were mentioned in this, but there is no mention of Ropuiliani. And even after independence, throughout the 70s, we don't... still today, we are still not able to, locate any mention about the chieftainess in any of the written sources. And it seems as though the public in Mizoram had totally forgotten Ropuiliani and her achievements in their memory, in the public imagination. And then, 50s to 80s, Mizoram became district council and then a union territory. So even during these decades also, church publications, daily newspapers, students' monthly magazine, they don't mention her, they have forgotten her. And like there is one thesis from Guwahati University, 70s, that mentioned the name of the chieftainess. So there is just one that we were able to find from Shot Ganga. And Chongkunga, the writer of the genealogy of Mizo, he said that he visited Ropuiliani. Puchongkunga worked in the art and culture department in the 70s. So he and other officers, they visited Rani Gaidinliu in her village. And Rani mentioned Ropuiliani and her achievements. And as Sir Tlongtia mentioned, 88, Zoro presented Ropuiliani, sorry with this spelling, Ropuiliani Award to Rani Gaidenlu, and I think this should be 1990. Seminar organized by Nehu Mizoram campus on the role of Ropuiliani in the freedom struggle. The proceeding of this seminar came out in 2003, edited by Professor Lalhriatzuali, and Dr. Laltluangliana's drama came out in 94, and Dr. Sankima's article 96, struggle Ropuiliani, her role in the struggle against the British, it came out. And then 1999, two books written in Mizo came out, authored by Vanalvuan and Lalhriatzuali Ralte. So I will not mention after 1999. So only from the late 80s, we came to have acknowledgement, appreciation of who Ropuiliani was and what were her achievements. And there is one big question, why did we forget her for nearly a century? Why was she not in the public imagination for nearly a century? So I think that's one question that we need to ask ourselves. And then since the beginning of the century, a great deal of news has been generated on the burial place of the chieftainess and the struggle, conflict for ownership of the past, whether she was buried in Denlung or Ralvong. And a number of new writings have been published offline and online. And now the government of India wants to recognize her as a tribal freedom fighter. In history, we say colonial resistance, but government of India wants to say it like freedom fighter. So different perspective. And Lalnu Ropuiliani as a player in world history, we can reimagine the chieftainess as one of the great players in world history, especially during the heydays of colonialism and imperialism, 19th century. It was because the British government became rich, let's say, because of the Industrial Revolution. It was the most powerful army. It was the most powerful empire in the world. So they came to Northeast India, they came to the Lushai Hills. But in spite of that, Lushai chiefs, all the chiefs in the hills, they went to war with them. They tried their best, okay? And then the indomitable spirits of Ropuiliani should be part of the narratives of world history in the 19th century. And by doing this, as Sir Khiangte has said, we can only hope to pay respect to one of the greatest women of all time. So I think her achievements, her story, her narratives should be a part of world history textbooks. Like we recognize many names of women in history, like Joan of Arc in France, and many, many others. So Ropuiliani should be a part of those narratives that place, her in world history, so that we can at least say we have paid respect to her as being one of the greatest women of all time. So with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
That was a very good presentation on historical perspective. One thing I would like to tell, as a news for you, my translations of Ropuiliani has been known by one professor from Brazil. Brazil, he asked me to send my play, so that they will discuss in the research board and research materials they are going to use in research materials. And so, I send it, and so they have discussed it, and that was, the play from Asia, the whole of Asia, not only India, the whole, the whole of Asia. One play we would like to study from Asia, and so you may send it. And so that is, I sent Ropuiliani play, and so they are going to study it there in Brazil. Okay, so that is this is the right time, I think, to tell, and so that's why I'm telling. Okay, yes. Please, and so Dr. Samuel, I have to introduce two persons, Dr. Samuel, and so there is one, Dorcas, please stand. Dorcas, please stand. Dorcas and Samuela, is translating my play from my play into English. And so one of my translator will say the sociological aspect of the display. Okay, no, sociological aspect of Ropuiliani. Please.
Perhaps I should begin with why I'm speaking on this occasion. Actually, my involvement even as a sociologist on Ropuiliani, it seems a little left of the center. Actually, the Red Fort incident where Ropuiliani's portrait was hung on the Red Fort during Independence Day, that was a very, it was a good day for me because that day I realized all these years as a student living outside Mizoram, all the marginalizations issues that we talked about, finally we are no longer marginalized. Finally, we have an agent, Mizo agent in the mainstream. However, post that, I did get to know certain debates that happened, specifically the ones mentioned earlier, specifically the was she an Indian freedom fighter or was she a Mizo patriot, etc., all those discussions. So that lit a fire under me and I got very interested in the idea of local heroes and indigenous heroes. And after a few failed proposals, one including on Rani Gwindulu, ICSR accepted one of my proposals for a major project and I was sanctioned a 12 lakh project on the topic, the Mizo Queen Lalnu Ropuiliani, her legacy in the context of nation building. So all my knowledge that I've gathered since, I'm be giving you little snippets of it because I don't think it's very appropriate for me to, it's an ICSR project and we have just finished a year of it. I don't feel I should tell all my findings on this occasion. Perhaps it's not too ethical, so I'll be giving out only snippets. So please excuse my reservations. So there are basically two objectives that I went with for my ICSR project. Firstly is finish a complete historiography combination of all the collating all the historiographies of Lalnu Ropuiliani, including field work in which we would collect all the oral narratives and localized narratives that was possible. Secondly, I guess the most sociological aspect of it would be the second objective, which is I want to see how this juggernaut of a thing that has happened in Ropuiliani, how does it affect Mizos today? How has it affected Mizos in the sense of how nationalized we feel on all these? Are we still feeling marginalized, or do we really now feel that we do have a voice in the mainstream? So regarding the first objective, I wouldn't say speak too much on it. We have reviewed all possible literatures as of now. We are currently doing archival work. We have finished two phases of fieldwork. We have gone to 16 sites and taken 383 responses through random sampling. And I would like to take this opportunity to introduce my team. From the left, we have Miss Marnie. Okay, Miss Veni for short, and Miss Cynthia. They are MS students currently in the third sem, but they volunteered, or shall I say forced to volunteer to aid me in the fieldwork. Lalhriatzuali, my official research assistant for the project, unfortunately couldn't be here. Chana for short, another graduate of the Mizo department. He has his uncle's wedding, so he couldn't come here today. So anyway, the presentation, the findings that I'm going to show today would not have been possible without this team. So why is Ropuiliani so important? I would like to, so the sociologically, I'm being put under a little stress because I have to speak only sociologically because I'm from sociology. Mythologies and iconographies, I have come to understand, have a huge part to play in communal memory. So that is one thing. There is something called a creation of history. Now, I am not suggesting that we do so for the purposes of putting Mizo legends in the mainstream. However, we have to understand that just because something is a mythology, something is a legend, something, for example, Professor Khiangte's work on Ropuiliani, which is categorized under the category of fiction, does not mean that it makes it any less real. I don't want to go too much into it, don't want to make it a lecture for now. Anyway, so Ropuiliani, for this project, what I have been inspired, what drives me to make this is, the project is twofold mostly. First is creation of a repository of indigenous heroes, plural. So Ropuiliani is definitely important, but I do see her as a tool for further research, for further creation of repository for indigenous knowledge and heroes. Actually, once we have a repository of indigenous heroes, we will automatically have a repository of indigenous knowledge. And when these two are achieved, when we feel sufficiently, we have done sufficient work on such repositories, then once it becomes mainstream, I think that's when we can truly say that through our legends, through our local heroes and heroines, we have succeeded in contributing to the nation building of the nation, that is India. Okay, so I would like to go through certain points again, findings from our current fieldwork. We have gone through 16 sites in south and east of Mizoram. We are, yesterday in fact, the second installment came, so we're going to continue the north and the west fieldwork. So these findings, again, why I did not want to really present it properly was because it really is incomplete. We do have two more fieldworks to go, two phases of fieldworks to go. The snippets that I'll present are the ones I feel will not change because of how skewed and obviously they are, or obviously objective they are. So firstly, let's start with the good things, so to speak. Out of all the respondents, 386 respondents, even only 8.3% were postgraduate and above. The number of people who have heard of Ropuiliani was 93.3%. So that was nice to hear. Regarding that little question as to how Ropuiliani's, there was a 100-year period blankness. So we did try to find that out, how come Ropuiliani has come back into popular culture. So Lalhriatzuali Ralte's song was ranked the highest with 54.4%. This is a multiple choice question, so again, please take my analysis with a pinch of salt. Informal oral narratives being 43%, now that gives me a little hope, because even though we still have not really made her a popular iconography in popular culture and everyday reality, she is still spoken of in oral narratives, and that's a very good encouragement for us. Her picture on the Red Fort really made us feel proud as a Mizo, 45.3%. Somewhat, that's very much. Her picture was exhibited on the walls of the Red Fort during Independence Day celebrations in 2022. Does that make you feel proud as a Mizo? Very much, 45.3%. Somewhat, 28.8%. So it's quite high. Regarding the impression of her, I think I'll just take a little detour here to speak on what our team together have figured how to approach the whole Indian freedom fighter versus Mizo patriot issue. So in our findings, the fact that the option for her being a famous Mizo patriot was 69.4%, Indian freedom fighter was 30.6%, anti-colonial 39.9%. Again, this is multiple choice. So the way I see it is as, on the one hand, if you look at cold logic, India did not exist. In fact, Northeast did not exist during her time. So there is no question of her being an Indian freedom fighter. Now, however, what exactly brought down the colonial forces? I think that's the more important question. Colonial forces were brought down, fine, Mahatma Gandhi did his work and that's what we know of. But what is forgotten in history are the pockets of resistances. In fact, stuff like Jallianwala Bagh, which we remember today, is one of those examples of pockets of resistance due to the unfortunate circumstances of how it ended, is why we remember it today. Because it did not have a Gandhi, it did not have a Patel, it was just a localized pocket of resistance. Ropuiliani can be considered a pocket of resistance as part of the greater resistance that would eventually bring down colonialism, not only in India, but across the world. So that, I believe, is the most apt way to go about it as of now. Can we put, how often do we see or discuss Ropuiliani's reference in everyday life? Rarely, 42.5%. This is something, again, it's not such a bad news, because this also tells us that there is a need to put Ropuiliani in Mizo's everyday life before we can claim as our own in order to be more mainstream. Can we put Ropuiliani in the same category as other heroes? Because when the debates on Ropuiliani happened, due to, I guess, our own personal biases, why don't we promote X? Why don't we promote Y? Why do we not promote Z? So the answer here we can see is that when we see, can we put Ropuiliani in the same category as other Mizo heroes? Agreed, 90.4%. So I think that's excellent results. Do you think Ropuiliani's history is important or necessary for promoting women's empowerment in Mizo society? Strongly agree, 41.2%, and of course there's agree, 22.3%. We actually have a bunch of qualitative replies, which again, it does not make sense to analyze now because we have 2 more fieldworks to go, so I wouldn't go too much into that. Now, do you believe Ropuiliani's story will continue to be relevant for future generations of Mizo people? Neither agree nor disagree, 42.2%. So this is again not such bad news, because that's what we are doing currently. We are promoting her. We're making sure that the younger generation get to know about her. She is, especially for the women, we had a separate section for women in a questionnaire, which only women will answer. Again, that was qualitative, so we are not, I'm not presenting it now yet, but everything suggests that there has only been good things to be said about her as a icon for women's empowerment. Okay, that would be some of the findings, and I would also like to take this opportunity to step on some eggshells, because we do have to be a little sensitive about going ahead with the promotion of Ropuiliani. In fact, I would say that even if it's not Ropuiliani, even if you take any other hero, there are certain sensitivities that we have to take in consideration. For example, the issue of Ropuiliani's grave is a big issue today, not only among living relatives, but specifically for the residents of Denlung and Ralvong. And of course, their own relatives, the ones who have migrated out. So you could say across the state, there is that issue. Now, this issue has to be addressed before one can promote. I believe that would be the most harmonious way. As to how to make it harmonious, as of now, I do not have any suggestions as of now. There is a certain sense of proprietorship among a certain section of Mizo people as to who Ropuiliani should belong to, unfortunately. So in fact, one discussion we had with one of our key respondents, one of them just said flat to our face, you people, you outsiders should stop doing research on Ropuiliani. We should do it on our own. And so I said to that lady, I said, you know, I hope you don't mind, but Ropuiliani is no longer yours. She's Mizo people's. My research assistant at that point chimed in with, actually now she's India's. So I think that's one thing that one stimulus us administrators and researchers, academics such as me can take as an encouragement is that we have somebody, we Mizos have somebody that we can call Indian. So it is for the same reason that issues of the museum maybe we can have a discussion about that in a casual situation, because I do believe the curatorship of such a museum has to have a certain aggressive approach to the promotion. Just like and moreover, just like any thesis can have an antithesis, there are certain information that we also have found out in our in the course of our project, that of course I will not share here, but let's suffice to say that there are certain informations that I would be presenting in the project, which at the very least has to be addressed before one can do anything moving forward with Ropuiliani. I hope you understand why I can't share that now. Okay, that's all I have to say for now. Thank you, sir.
เลข้าอันสวยเว่เว่กันทรเชียงกลางเบียบินกริงารูปวิเลียนี่จันจินและทิลดังประคัดทิลประคัดกันสวยและดูจู one more thing I have to say is that after sending my script to Brazil, I request them to translate into Spanish and Portuguese. Okay, Spanish and Portuguese. Spanish and Portuguese, like the South Africa, South America. South America, Brazil is the only country where they speak Portuguese. Others, Argentina and others are speaking, this Spanish, okay. And so the 3-4 major languages know about Ropuiliani. It's, we can like spread the news or the play in worldwide market, okay. Worldwide knowledge. They have to have worldwide knowledge about Ropuiliani. That is why I would like to inform the House what is all happening in the case of Ropuiliani. All right. So se tichuan zo na le chan na mizo tongain zo du pon hai kan thian pa bak chu mizo tong a soi du zok vek in ni kan skula chuanin mizo tong hindi le ti kha ling vek ka ti kha cho wang chuan mizo tong nge hian afia devin ka hia a ke chuan ka thiam perania wangin cho wang chuan in thiam berve em sap sikulani khat ma kallo kania wangin mizo tong hi ka thiam bera cho wang chuanin Hindi le English ain chung mi te tan po chuan kong honin a ome kati nani chu please take part in the discussion like Piriati te kha kan zot lokanga now is 12:44 and so we can have our time up to 1:30 draw up to 1:30. This one, in the meantime, like let them serve our lunch here, and so you can eat along, and then you can enjoy. Okay, you can enjoy the food, and so this is going to be a packet lunch. Okay. And so tia interdua cho eke hingai poimo turani lava chu bang chuan a packet ka athamaya aul samzo ka. That's the easiest way of discussion. All right, teru chutni chunero se soi du chuan helaya hian soi ve ula ti chuan hun intan pekin inom ti khan a soi du piang im soi ro le.
A very innovative approach to development of museums, especially this tribal freedom fighter museum. So most of his concepts and what he brings in Mizoram is very totally different from what we had been discussing with the Ministry of Tribal Affairs since 2018. Because this museum, from our side, what we conceptualized was that it would be a very innovative one, being a very thematic museum. So we could include not only the freedom fighters, because we have already one historical museum which is implemented by the Art and Culture Department, which is very deteriorating at this stage. And I think there are no more much visitors except some schools from rural parts of Mizoram. So even the maintenance is not very good. I went there very briefly the week before last. So let's hope we have taken many counsel that Dr. Khiangte had put forward, and we will be taking up on those issues. And another thing is the museum is situated next to what we call the TRI, Tribal Research Institute. It is renamed State Tribal Resource and Training Center, because there is an existing TRI under the. No. It's in KLC. That Zolbuk area is in Falcon. So it is in there in KLC. So when we inaugurated it, when the times to inaugurate it comes, we hope it'll all be there. Anyway, that's on the near future. So that much I would highlight with regards to the very strategic inputs that Dr. Khiangte had provided us from the very time he landed to Aizawl. And we're going with him to the sites tomorrow, so we'll be discussing and brainstorming and rethinking of many other concepts which we have written. And of course, we'll be happy to share the detail later on. Now, in Mizo, about to Mizo Tong and Saiton. I need to say, I share vector, can concept lows yet, a project report, a project law evolves for Nante. Hey, students, the faculty, the scholars, can need no in can local tag roles see as one a prize value to a trying career, can director can see as one a main point a vector so Atira one freedom fighter museum the Ministry of Tribal Affairs and scheme pakatangin Siamani. So one scheme a project he art and culture depon and low siam social welfare hen and siam boka kan siama more so kan siam so ka like we can undo zo dip that you may swan kan siam ka akal tlang chapta ani dip bermena ye ani ta ka zon hey art and culture ho ti om tak te ponia amor so atima antel concept kan hanti so khan art and culture te tin MZU lama hian pumoi te hi atiling ka thi a hei ani a pension to na in tin chu ba ka tunge history lam hen tu man chu omani ming ka soi thei to re le de to Professor Oro Sanga omdro kha te po khan tel WhatsApp in kan tia digital link kan tia meeting shan kan tilo concept kan siam dong khan a digital platform kan siam mi ta khan sinota tang point an amar sang atangin ten department dang atang po in minti puya angin ang ani tak song collective effort ni mani me champion thei chin lowa asum le pai ken po tama cross of bread velani tunai hen kan pin soi tang khan 80% item atna so kan zo to tuna chuan a chi ne no chunga e omang art nge omang ti ang chi dekha kan duang chho le lama kong so lo chede o leka tunai hen siam thamek nine kha ro ten sur le museum bula son ti pui kan tum ber zo State Tribal Resources Training Center om ta so son chu nakina MZU tenen pola thokovin thilro pui tak kan ti angai sulai so resource learning hub ke ni chun siam kan du i resource tu po hei putlong te le khabu lo le then te hi a then kan pi in le ila ti then kan mi khol hi kan penga library po digital ni mo a physical ang po in a thapol nei so kan tumani kan collect kap to hang kan yang to kan poisa chu kan nei hau lowa amar so kan mong te kan la khoma tin ke ma ni po khen publication ni kan nei ve tanwal ka siara digital ne na kan siam hi pasari lai kan nei ve to mo chu kan la publicize bak lo public domain a chon la om lawang chu te chu ama ti hlu tu tan a chhuwa chau dai la ti kha kan ri ro om te ni a chuan ni sin in ron soi in presentation la khan kalo notice pakhat chu kan origin chung chang hi ni Mizoram Research Foundation ti ho hian proposal an ron thelu ta mizo te hi khoi tang tak tang e kan lo chhuwa DNA lamte nen hian studies nen hian I be tak tak tem u kan lo chhuwa ni enge chin lung ti le ngut mai hi ani lo de we hi aya mum zo khi kan nei ngai tiani ma se chumi tur zon China kha ni chen ron seng khan kan history lamtin ron seng khan helaya khami a universe of study tu ha a zau de wanga ya helai ka ringot le khum tung vel tang lo join te fil don lawa chu wang chuan budget te po alin de hle ka ngai don chu tun train in ngai tu na kha abi ken history te helai boina putol ten niang u ati chin hi a strategic coping ka hi a hemi chin hian kan ngai tu ngai ni khoi chin nge niang an ron deal nga ron ti tum te hi kan ngai le lau thon sok su enge blind lu tu kian kan tha tu te kan chui chuak nge tur ni hi an ron ti tu tonga mi ron ti pui kha enge systematic academic lo lu tu ang ti kha lo ba chu ta zo min lo vian pui to khan in pui mo view mai do na le lo nial tur point tin chon kan thesa thok ma se gen chu department mi le kha kan nia min nan nu do na ma se nang ma ni om hian kha khan om zenei zokin thesis soma antithesis soma synthesis thazo lo chona khan au poi mai ka thia chu kan settle wa tin tuna pu kalina local hian lantir kan tum pakhat hei putlong ten po kan lo se chu thil tam tak mu duwa ena duwa chiara duwa ma se tam tak kan nei lo hi sia sela thane min ngai pui ro se ti impression siam kan du pakhat ani lo om vek ni chon bun la ga zo mai don chu ai chuan nimina po changsil fort an thua changsil fort khulai an kanin ka na kha mo chu changsil kal chu hei kan thian te kan officer te an kal puya kala har sa em mai kal chu zong chang to view loin rin om to mai chin lo mo Mizoram han duin kho kal don tia ti zung thei ani lo ti kha a muna ron zira kha kan lom ke ni chuan tuna te po museum klo don klo huna chuan kalkong har sa jiate an han threwenga khang kha hei an a trip report hi kan ta na poim em chu wan hele MZU interactive session kan nei po hi a hlok ang ti kha ke ni chuan kan be se tak ni tin kan pin lo ngai to lai takalo nia hei putluang te nen te alo kan champion pui thei hi alo omin ka hria chuan chumi lo le chuan kan le khabu resource book hi kan soyang khan abigin kan ke faculties le research scholars te po in seminar paper pia lama publication hi kan la nei manglom lo awang hian perfect de wa chho tum khir lovin kan nei mol molangai hei putluan te kan faklo du atia hian putluan te hian atimo mup mai ni aron hlum chok pur reng mai ni kan dong seng man lo peer review po kan ti man lo chu ani bere atam khop mai amor su kha kan mo si ni tun stage cha chuan in siama MZU ke chu sia MZU en soi thei deu longa kan chung ko din nang deu ka ngai ve nia
kumina hian le ka pali ke ti chuak
o lo kan alo me chu thil reference thil han siam don in hei ke ni hi concept developer kan dia concept kan siam ni eng thila po concept kan siam chumi dan sa kan library hi ala te many kan access te hi le thei cha kan le 5 video vek chui chung chuan a clean ani ni local resource ngot phei chu wa chon tam zo kan nei ngai english a le ti lam kha chu nge neng 5 thong ti kha chu apani na om sela apoi mo chan mizo tong khan le english pon apoi lo chu chon om phot mai se chu lama chuan tran lai la ti kha kan soido helaya rem chang kan han de ta ka chuan a chan chu in PhD thesis tur in ana tur ko apo hian Mizoram mamu hi tlemin in ron and diverse de kan ngen du chewa a chan chu chumi assessment in ti lai in hian a chung MZU helai campus chung a cholo hian department level a ron expedite thin ula ti yang kan som du chewa a chan chu actionable research kan mamo tuna hian action lak the nangal tu research outcome nei kan mamo chulai tak chu Mizoram kan problem ani tuna hian planning and program implementation department han kalola thil ngai le ngai awa thak lek ka academic survey of Mizoram ti de claim te hian danglam hi date lo danglam figure claim te danglam churingo chuom kha khak tun la ya project lian zok le mumal zok siam nan a khop talo ni chunglai chun untap area sector tamlu tuka chulai chu PhD ti don point MPhil ti don point he hiron ngai to photo or kini chu kan open rank the kan soi tang khan kini hi local hok nong hi department rang hian state tribal resource and training center mi te kha kan ni ngal a chu wan chuan ron po kan tlakin kering I ron tlak loin kan lo ngai ka hello in the history of social welfare en izong po ni se event siamane mo en po ni se khang han nang mani pui tu chu in kan o mania zaka po film kan release khan college mo zatin minon pana an faculty lam zok ten enge resource in nei to in thil thiat te in zirnan kan hang du an rote local ro kan nei ang chu in lo endo ne kan thilang chu a price in do pon angle in tan son technical session te po kan siam don ye kan tia chu chu nang ni pon in lo she verek don ya ti kha kan sai du se alo be
so fak nuam ule ti tameng anuam khop ma ya he MZ I wa hian chu thian pa LZ ta bula ka lo so ya lecture te khati ang chi presentation ang chi te kan ngai thak lo na re to hle me nuam hle me ka tia tin MZU hi kan tlang nel ver shim he putluang te ten lo oma kan thian te kan mer shiat kan school kal pui thin ten om nok me ya nuam kan ti ani mi ching khan ka ding to tho nangin han soi bel du shet kan ne ya hemi Ministry of Tribal Affairs no I hand support to Tribal Research Institute the scheme hi oma chu min huai chuan research te kha ang chi te po kha thei ve kani tin chu mi ba ka chuan research ba ka chuanin hei kan mim kut te kan chap char kut pol kut mo le boy shu kan ti te khatyang hodai giri ti te heng ang chi te hi project an ron thelu ta kan submit saka atlang queen an pom thina Ministry of Tribal Affairs of Ministry kan ministry ani mizo te ministry ni ti kan theng hin lawa poimo ta chuanin an mani ina an ron in huam anga hi kan zut tap chwa char hi adu ema department a hian hei directorate pakhat noya tribal affairs a hiya omani maya chumi baga chon social welfare nen kan lakopta a disability ti te old age ti te drugs te tuna chon beggary transgender ti sang kha kan khoi chauzel ta a alian vetel tela chumi baga chon tribal affairs hi hlom lian puina omani chulaya chuan thok tu chu kei kan ni maya kha kan deputy director pimi mi anile maya assistant director a pizo mon pui kha aban han pharve reng te second assistant director ti chuan pu elzeta ni china loading khachu khani khachu consultant ania kan hena a ngeta thokani chuang lova ti chuan Ministry of Tribal Affairs hian program assistant te hi SPMU watia state project management unit angin aron da chhautan ta he UNDP te nen thok khowa anin interview engkiman kondaka ti chuan chutlai chon voina po han minon troi o mani pu alana pu shwaya le pu manga ya te kha ban han phar teule chuan tikhan chu zung chu tribal affairs handle tu chu kan nitani chuan kan soile du chu tuna hian Mizoram sarkar ke mani department hian tribal policy Mizoram state tribal policy hi kan duang chawa ti chuan workshop te po kan nei to a state level workshop chu ta po chuanin MZE watang te pon sociology department how tele department dang te po kan ron soma inputs thatak tak min ron pe ani tin MZE kherlo po college professor how te pon tiang khan tin IS association members how retired to te tin zirlai pol chi sang sang te nen khatiang khan soi ho na kan nei to a han thwal mam le anga ya wangin tiang chuan tuna han hun kan mang me kani kan bua zui chho me kani ti chuan hemi tribal policy noya hian kan ruwa man na sarkar ina min pompui theya hatia anga cabinet ate min la approve sak thei chuan tribal policy hi kan nei thei tura kan ngaya chuta chuan chumin noya chuan nge ni TRI kan ti tuna State Tribal Resource and Training Center so autonomous body society noya da khamia kha kan tumani khatiang ani kha chuan dedicated persons how khan and man thei to dona a office turte a administrative building te po kelsia so no vek to a building thalu tuk moi lu tuk mai kan nei to chuan exhibition hall te po veka alian vaklo ma se nuam deuh mai hi ne tin khami hwal khan engeni scholars how te khang artisans te khang how te na engeni an real root thoveng taka mo with liberty of mind and spirit khalaya engamo workshop te mo engamo ron nei theina turang khan quarters ti mayang thlenna lodge ang chi kha om teu bokani chu chu nakina MZU te po hian in du chuan in la ron mang tangkai theyang amun so nuama chu wang chana tangkai em dona ni ti chuan Ropuiliani Museum bi ka hi chu angeni Ropuiliani centric devin ahming kha Ropuiliani Museum tin ron ti akan mathilania chu wang chuan ahming an phua dan le nga tinge Ropuiliani hian ron thlanti hi chu ke chuan ka question lem lawa kan malam hun thilani ti chuan tuna son a civil works hi chu 80% 85 vel zo to ani September thakhan hong tura ruwa man turin min hantia amaro chu ruwa suna sal tu ka wang khan material kan buaya wang khanin we prayed for time ti chuan tun kum chung hi chuan zo nge ngai to ani chuan chumi ba ka chuan a curation portion kha poimo tu na kan chai la ya hi anita chumi tan chuan concept poimo tak kha kan han duanga chu hei pu Joseph hian na satakin min puya chunga po voina han lom thu ka soidu ani tin pu Joseph concept mang khan consultancy firms te khanin engeni anron engeni formulate ta a design tur hei hi chuta chuan da tur diorama hetia han mangila chuti khati ti te tin nichina kan expert pu kaliana na soi ang deuh khan engeni digitalized information akha kiosk en mangin katianga en tur te po khan buat sai ani ama ero chu soyang khan du thu samin hun kan nei tlema wangin du angin a om tura kan ti le kan du a hi du angin kan tikim lei theilovin ka shia tuna po hei seminar yani consultation te kan ne thil thar kha kan zirbel zer ni nichina pu kaliana soyang khan hei engeni open museum concept te tin nimin lama kan commissioner and secretary hova kan meeting to na te po ama ina engeni museum akhachu mo engeni it should go to the villagers mo not the urban elite how we not enjoy to ni lawati ang deu lek khan are engeni village economy khan thatpui sela adu ema khami concept kha tharia win ke po in bimal takin ka shia ani ti chuan tuna hi jana museum akhachu hei ani pon back to engeni yang museum te po colonial concept ania atia dik che in pakhat chunga khan thil artifact sang objects sang da akha ani ber lawa it should go to the roots it should go to the site museum akha khami khan it should engeni embody the spirit of museum mo kha anita chu tiang tur chuan malak na te po hi nei chho hi chak oma chu ta tan chuan in expertise in zirchian na in research papers engkimahi kan lama mo dona ni tuna hian chu nichina ka soi ang khanin kan department pon thupa choi tur kan neya ma se kan engani ti thei bak chin ani awangin a concept te po chu pu Joseph hi this year ka omlaya kan lo tho ho to na wangin engani kan in mercia tha a thiam na te kha engeni man mo thak lu tukin kan mamo sia ti khan kan han so mani zau zo ka han in ron khoma hun te chu nei lang chuan kan chak lu tukani ma se arem talawa amaro chu museum ti ma son na konga emo chu tuna museum trail ti ang chi mo tourist hota na khatia han ti ang tur chi te han formulate chaunan khan in thiam na hi kan lamang tangkai don lu tukani ti la ya kha kan soi du chu ta tan chuan in tho puina karon ngen hal ani chu nakina nimina kan soina enga tangpon state level technical committee hemi historical engene ang sites and monuments preserve na turte tin a icons and heroes and heroines khate ang chi ho preserve na le promote na tur anga kha technical committee hi chu siam a thakop mai ti te kan bil ro lo om chanani ro man na kan ron siam thei tura ngai la ti chon atto pera chuan kami mal ngai da ni china pusam wela ron soi kha ka beng avera ama po karil ro lo omalo ni ta Ropuiliani te kan soi khuang chera kan soi zakapa khuang chera chu okay not too much in the limelight zakapa a prominent le a women perspective fatangin chuan Ropuiliani Ropuile a timayanga langliana ni tuna po museum po it's going to be and she's going to be the central figure ma se khami phena khan freedom fighter tribal ani ang chu mo engani colonial resistance lampang lo be to ho hi du anga document thata hi kan nei lo hi kan han hai thina pu joseph hi kan biak rona nita ani chuan lo sheviao mai thema se ziakin amo le khabu in amo digital form in amo movie in amo khati ang chi khan engma kan nei lo hi engani challenge lian deuh anita in ka sia pusang zwala kha om talawa ani te po kha tun ma in deputy commissioner ai zola ko omlai khan pictures through the ages ti le khabu kha kan siam hawani chuta chon an tangkai em an history shiat na te mizo history and shiat na le kha ang zong zong akhan min puina sa chunga po lom thu veina kan soi do ka acknowledge ve shim do ni chu ti chuan chu ni china karil ro om lian de wa chu khang ang chi lal ho ina khoi tangin nge british ho khan lo do khoi tenge mel ma kha an lo dan khate ang chi anga kha le khabu tha le enge ni le khabu mai ni lovin tuna zakka pate Ropuiliani te khuang cherate enge ni kan exalta kan choi moya kan entiang kan timayang kan ron choi lar ang hian achuti ang chuan ti vedan te po hi om theisela nichina ka soi ang khan Ministry of Tribal Affairs project thelu tur tam taka oma ron thelu thin ro tin an research do hi hei practical ni chena pu zeda soyang khan practical execute ngal the mu ngal the tangkai ngal the khate ang chi kha an du ani ama te chuan zep thu om lawa kan research paper te chu bal zir chian na ti te kha ang mai kha blacksmithy ti te khang khan pom vak lo chu ai chuan mizo culture mizoram ne na in kai hnoi tur khate ang concept thadeu nei si man tangkai thei tur mo man ngal thei tur le kan chhor tangkai ngal tur ang chia kha ron the lut ve thin ulati in karon som chewani melai chu nuam khop mai he ngani meeting te om lawa zalen de win kan tronga du kan soya in different insights into the Ropuiliani mo ngani le mizo freedom fighters how hang te kan han ngai tha kha angai noma po anuam ka tikhop mai ka enjoy ta mewe kalom lut to ke
alom social welfare department hi kan mania khan kan tangkai pui zawa mizo department mingin lom thu atak takin kan soyani disabled person Ropuiliani kumzatlin kha kan loma rual ban lawania chawang chuan cheng sing thum zaran petoem an petomo min petoem toin ka hiat ti chau account lampanga khan chu kan lom ma kan lom na chan chu program that tak kan siam theyani mani program khami zani somnga atanga zathum chuang in kan manga kan lom ma aron kal te chu an hlok pui nge tura kan nga ya chutiang chuan ka hanti rimrima mizo department ringot po hian thil chi rang ti thei hi kan na ma kan ti cheu to hey street play te kan chang to ni pasal thakwang che da ti he ti lai ta kan chang to mun ran da hian kan changa amu no man ti ani Ropuiliani ti he silonga kan chang to khami kan chang to kha Guwahati te po kan chang to ni kan propagate tak to ani tia kha tun nai maya hian nge tuipui ve te tan ni kan relawang ti ka hlawa Silonga te Guwahati te Delhi te kan ti to like when we went to Bhopal Museum of Mankind, okay, we acted there also. Lalhriatzuali is the one who is my student there, and so like I have collected 4 or 5 people to do the same, to act that thing. Chung Lai Chuan Mizo heroes and heroines he kan ngai poimo I have collected and translated in English for about 70 heroes and heroines, including 30 heroines, okay? And so that is not yet published. Like I don't know whether the social welfare department can give publication grant. And so that is important. And so like 30, like I have started the movement right from 1990, okay, 1990s and so 20s, and so like that is I have collected a good number of female heroes and male heroes as well, and so I like that is lying still. And so I have tried my level best to do so, and so kami ka kan soi lang ve kan pi te ria ta yan kan soi ve rim du ani this one kan be sei tak chu enjoying director emani kal suak ta kha voi khat chu kan in bia social welfare hian chu tiang chuan kan ti do na lo mizo department hian nen hian trang du ni la atang ati ma se andrele tawang wanga ke ni chuan kan ron pak vak ngam lo chawa pak te hi kan nau te hoi chuan an thre vak lo mai the kan ron pak vak ngam lo chawa ti chuan Mizoram University ve si in lo ti kan lava ma se program ti tu hi chu kan thre treu mai chu wang chuan in kan thre treu mai tia kha ril ruwa om thri na chu ta chuan kan tran ho thei phot chuan ik fa ya khian voi ni drama kan hin chang to drama chan hi a that em na oma mi am motivate cha em ani khalai mi anu loka chuan drama chan ani chuan street plays he London kan kalai khan an ron changa street play chu an do in an ena du lo labin an kalsana chu street plays te apoi mo ani ti kha kan chin chia be mai tha helaya po hian kan changa mun tanga po kan chang to wana pa hola te po kan chang to in the form of plays chu he hian min ti reng thi na ni ka soi lo chuan zanin kamu thei lawang ti kha in omem in law mem ma se soi du khai nom chuan apoi mi alawnia hun ka honge
wo in som ni ka so kan so editor for mi zo ko an ya kai ni ye ti te pak cha ni te ase adi ka pin dis wela ve a support ne kun na top ani ti la mi zo le vai tin ji ku sang kang to an ya new style is based on style ma set to pu le de kha ba kan pu le ka siap suak la ba thì các chế bản bản đi lỗ về si tu chân chính tu chúng ta đi nó hàng ngày do tao bị cái ăn chịu phân lậu thì mấy page chân số ăn bản đi colonial report file làm chi việc am like and like access nghe nó chỉ dấu chuột about time mà sẽ hay if you come to 1950s UT 72 thì nó là có hơn thì nó cái này I'm sure là vẫn sân các chú mystery là gì cái gì dấu ở trong 원형에서
Something really.
Assumption so ninain kalmo assumption so ninain knowledge hi widespread nan mass media he poi molo tukta ni so khatlai hun so one example tu na hian everyone here putlong te play hi country mo ma se we are a very specific demography, we are educated, in fact postgraduate and above kan ni fe khataw himo. So even when we say mass media ti wangin mi pumpui hi kan va khoi ngai lo, there's always an aim where this particular mass media is aimed at. Khatiang thawin tu na hian kan archival finding hian Ropuiliani hi chungchang zoni ahar satop kan putlem lo tok, in fact tu na hian in Shakespeare missing diary kan te mai kan team chunga kan language man missing diary hi kan zongmek tu na hian Delhi po kan kalmei thaya. So khatiang kami lack of official report plus how mass media worked in 1950s kami akop khanin aron englo lo ta aron lar lo pha ta ni so aron lar na chan tung wangin lalsang zoi sai lo ahla zo abu pun ni lowin. That is the main reason why people know Ropuiliani today in, let's say, in the outskirts where people are not, let's say, so highly educated and not so in tune with mass media. Chuchu anizo ken kashare chan.
Kachan zo mang o izo na chu thil har sadeu van nuai thangi iriem ban ai thangin iriem shelo topang in shelo topang mizo meichia ropui ber in shelo ani chu ropui ber in shelo ani chu achan chu sang khat zakwa no sang khat zariat 1890s meichia ropui nola mel trabok si kami chanchin kha tun thlengin enga tinge kan lo la riat lo iti in ti izot tela ka ngayanga ti izot tela ka ngayanga ti chuan wa nge ni Ropuiliani po hi sang khat zakwa som kwa chawa kan ti nuwa khan kum som ni som thum chu van tlang hian an hello ma se mizo department kan student te chuan an thria ma se khema se an pudar zolo chu amakani enge chan State Library te Mizoram University Library te kopi thum chau an lei thina wangin abuai thak vekin kha ka kopi tam chiar tur om se ti chuan zirlai chawin threlo se van tlang in ria se atha tuna Ropuiliani alar tak luai na chan chu tuna nge ni alar tak luai in ti lai hian kan ti lai hian van tlang ala lar chuang lo van tlang ala luar chuang lo kan ngai ven ho hian kan thela sang ka zakwa som kwa hian ke chuan ka revek to sang ka zakwa som kwa ka riat kha to na hian sang ni le som ni a in theve don chaun ko beng zan nge liam to chu tiang deuh chu ni chu wang chuan khamia kha kan riat ke ma ni tan khang soi tur khan platform a shan pa si lawa chu tu na hian phor tur Ropuiliani thluk thuak phor tur kangani social welfare hian min phor tir don emti ani le tani kan pi chuak cha apoi le man chu kami kha ani natan tak ania chuan Book of the Year te po an thlang thuak ka Ropuiliani ka bu kha chuan top 3 te chuan atel chianga ma se Mizo Academy of Letters thil ti kha van tlang in kan thelo ko thani na ti lo chuan YMA in avor angai chumi lo chuan thil hi ariat tak tak thei lo Mizo zinga chu wang chuan ani lo chuan khang le khabu ka le khabu te kha elzeta te ang hianin thin rim te win lo hal sela atangka nge ni lo hal ta se enga tinge an hal ti kha ngai tua ta se a tha em kha kha ni lo ha tu na hian history a hian nge lar lo kan ti na san chu zirlai tu na educated BA MA zong zong an thria ta kha midangin kan thriat lo abang Mizo subject la chuan an thria lom dik tak chuan an thria lom Mizo subject la lo hi an tam si a an threlo ani an threlo tiang khan chu a zia chu nia khami chung changa khan ngai tua non angai khop mai ngai tua ngun angai khop mai ti akha kan soile du a international seminar national seminar te po hian ka soi nichena an soya khan red for ta antar ni ti kha red for ta antar hi ka papers hi present mia ta lovila an latar hang lovang ti kari ke marin dan paper hi voi mun tam taka national international la chuan Ropuiliani chungchang po hi ka soi to ani chumi ani awang chuan kan lo reve ta kan thriat ve na hi akal zelang alom ngotang nge ni social welfare department po kan tap har ton 9 tiam kan tap har to chu ma se in har na chen van nuai thang in la khetlat lo hi sang kha jariat som kwa khan record lui kan en chuan ambassador for peace nula mel thalut tuk ani awangin nula mel tha Mizo mechia mel tha zeisi Mizo reng in kan thiam lo ma khan sinos ban ai thangin knows hin Bengali she composed poems in Bengali. She was the first literate among the Mizos, but the medium of expression is Bengali. Okay, and so she was so beautiful. Ambassador for peace, they call it, and so that also like beauty, her beauty attracted so many people, and so she is still unknown. She is still unknown to everybody, almost everybody, except ICFI and Mizo department master degree students. All right, and she was still unknown, and she could have khati laya Bengali nula som pakwa koi khom thei pasala apasal ina loi pui thei kha chu apui nia mei chadang in triami shelo ma se ban ai thangin in la resi la ba ani sang ka jakwa somriat vela khan USA a chon computer an mang to computer kan riat ve hun hi tlai rayasi khatiam khani mai kat dilu tukem all right ma se chu kachang sak lutuka asei dewa chu Christianity in mintichia Christianity in minti nufum ti hi ke chuan ka oi ngai lovang achan chu khami te ขามีเตเงี้ยนี่เทลประคัดกระสอยกายองเงี้ยนี่ a sensitive เดวเล็กกระสอยกายทวังBaptist publication แรงอ่ะเฮียนสางขัดจักว่าปฐุมโซซาบแต่อันเราเฉาเลยสางขัดจักว่าปฐุมมาคันลุงเลยเตโซตาเตเงี้ยดิซอนบัพติสินียวังอินกสอยไหมเนี่ยบัพติสิขมีมาคันโซซาบลุยเตโซซาบทารเตเฮียนสางขัดจักว่าปันนีคริสเตียนอันวาซิมได้ต่อบัพติสริโกตาอลูเทแรงเลยจู่นี่กันสอยดูเราไล่จู่กันสอยเรางารมาเสกันสอยดูไล่จู่กันสอยชั่วเลยสีโจซาบลุยโจซาบทาราเตนคริสเตียนตั้มตะกันวาซิมตัวจู่ริโกตาเฮียนบัพติสริโกตาอลูเทแรงเราตีก็สอยจวนกันโดเดวไม่เทียมุนมีประคัดมีปนิคัด research scholar เวงวาเดวอันโลชัวหุนาชวนอลูตังมาเซเวงวาเดวฮีอันละชัวโลวันยังจู่อันนี้อมเสียจู่ขัดยังเซลขานีจุดตาสังขัดจักว่าปฐุมอันโลชัวเลยติชวนเงี้ยนี่เฮติลายคานอันนี้ที่ในตัวเอ็มตาข้างเด็กข้าเสียแล้วก็สิ Pioneer Mission ก็รันในแรงเราที่เราชัวเขาว่าค่ะจูวางชวนคริสเตียนที่อินมินติเชียที่ฮิจูเกยชวนกันเนียลตรังกะทิเล่งอินกันเนียลังจู่เนี่ยขัดยังอมเสียในค่ะติชวนเชียร์ตูรีกันเทรียดฟูง่ายเสียคิดจะอมเซลบานายทั้งนี้จุงจ้างปกเสียก็อมเซล Encyclopedia of Mizoram ที่ข้ากันเกลเลตงาระก็เรียบเวนัวจวนสุฮาสจักรเวอร์ตีขันบานายทั้งนี้ที่ที่จะมุนตั้มตะกาโลเซียกเสียมุนตั้มตะกาโลเซียกเสียมาเสกันเทเทแรงเรา history ซิรไลปกขันอันเทเทเราอันเทจวงเราอันน่าเดียวไม่เทโจเซฟแต่ตานชวนอันน่าเดียวไม่เทโอ้จู่เกยชวนกับเรียล้อมตีชุดชานนัชัดกันมาเสดูนัชานนัจู่ดูนัชานค่ะอัดไหลลุตุกัดตีเวทูจู่บางชวนตัวนาชวนเราพิเลียนี่ปกัดเรียล้อมกันเรียล้อมจู่มีบัวปจวนเราอินเสียกาอินติไม่เทเลมจันโคเบลลัลนูโรปุยเลียนี้ตีโปฮิกักกอยนันยาลัลอันตีเจ้าวะลัลนูตีฮิไตต์ละอันในเราแรงลัลสร้างจวลิขานรุนมังเวตาลัลสร้างจวลิขานเงี้ยนี่โรปุยเลียนี่ก็อาเทเราชิมอีเล่ขบูอีดราม่าบูกัจเชียระกะลมลุตุกvoi thum ka chiar chuak to ka pia lo ni renga ka pia lo ni renga atia chu wang chuan le khabu asiak ve le khan nge ni ka nge Joseph ata huat tur tak reference mintel mialo reference ke ma atanga thil reflect tu khan reference mintel lo niกันอย่างเงี้ยลูก professor เขาชวนอันนั้นติงว่าตังชุมีอ่ะชวนกว่าลียก็ชัวโตกว่าสรีอะเลยขบูรอนเสียกเบีย reference อัดเดียวเรากับปีเราเนี่ยที่ไม่เขาขานเงี้ยนี่ reference มินเดียวมากสิชุกันสวยเงี้ยนี่เสียเราแต่เดเวสวยเซลเราไม่ยังชุดยังจีจูสอยตูร์ก็งาไหมดีข้าตบนั่นนี่รอเสเล่อารมณ์โอเมรู้ที่เราเช่งหรือวะรอ รู้ตะโลเทงโลวางินลมถูกันสวยเตลไม่ยังให้เวลาเฮียนะลมเล sociology department และ history department จังเต social welfare department จังเต mizo department จังเตอินกัน local โคมากันคอมพิวเตอร์ค่ะ mizo department มีกันหน่วย PhD ตีอันนี้วางินก็สมลุยนาวางินมินผมสักอาทิยมเล่อันนี้ที่อินทรียงลมถูกสวยเต็นปีเรียติเนน่ะขันเราสวยเลยอุลาปีเรียติเนน่ะมันนี้จะจำกันลมกุมจะจำกันลมเจงสิงทุ่มมินเปกขะกันลมเอมาอลังสารเดียวังอลังสารเริงังตีขากันสวยดูบกะวันนั้น local ซงตีขานิชนาฟิมทัวกันสวยจกค่ะ lunch หันตีเฮียนินแข่งลาโจบุญมาสาหันตีขาตีทรัลค่ะตุ่มเลาตุรนี่กเตียนี่อินตำลุตุกมาอินกระจอกอาซาดเวลค่ะอุลาโมเดลอินชวนเลมส์ยาฮีไงตัวเรานัลกันดูชวนเลมดูตรอนัลกันดูชวนเลมดูข้าขันนี่มั้ยกันเอาแต่เขาฮิกซิลฟ้ามาเส้นละสินเทยจวงละวะชวนเห็นชวนรวยโซรวยฮีเงี้ยนี่อันซีงเห็นก็เกี่ยวเขาละวะเลมิดูชวนเลมรออินัลสตังโมตูนมาก็สวยชินก็สวยง่ายต่อเราก็สวยเลยตูจูมีปัดุลเกียร์ก็ง่ายสร้างเราที่ให้เนี่ยกลางวันดุลเกียร์ก็ง่ายสร้างเราวะไม่เชื่อเพย์จูอาเซียเราลุตุกันนี่ไม่เชื่อดุลเกียร์นุละดุลเกียร์เทอินโนแมมข้าอาเซียเรานี่มาเสกัทุสอยริมเงี้ยนี่ง่ายปอยหมอเราเฮียนอมเวะขเวลรัมปุมปุยาเฮียนันอมเวะเกียร์เร่งเท่าที่เห็นเรามันเนี่ยสุดท้ายพวกนี้เสมีมาลกังไงดานนี่กังไงดานกัดที่นัวชัวตูเลขบูฮีกัจยากเมกะกัดำลายอันชัวจวนมินโจเลมินสอยสามินสอยเซลฮีอันตำลุตุกังตีกะลาวะกัดที่นัวเจ้าอันชัวงสุดตาจวนินก็รันจุงจางปอจูกสอยเฟอังโอ้ค่ะกสอยเฟอังมาเสจูกะทีนัวชัวตูเจ้าอันนี้อันปอนี่เสอินจะวายจุงกะโลมาเป็น PR cell ออกมากัน University เฮียน PR cell เฮากะโซมาจบจิลตะกินกะโซมาเสียอันรอนเตลทะเลเลสิฮิกะโลมากันเฮดรูตินอันเทดอนเรา blood donation ออกมาอันที่อมติโร blood donation ค่ะ blood donation ไม่เตจูกัติเทลกัติเจ้าเนี่ยเฮลัยโปรแกรมปอยโมเซียฮีอันเทียอันชุดฟูตัดจัตอัน local ตาทิลอันติฟูนี่อารมณ์กะลมมันนี่คีปัจจุบันโลกาละนุลาเฟลตักเลหลังวาลเฟลตักอันออกมาชัววังชวนอันชุงกะลมบกะเต็นเฮ้เอลจะฮีตูนมาอินเทรทินกันเนี่ยกันอินเทรียบนัดสุปฏิยันทูลำปังได้อันเนี้ยปฏิยันทูเราพอเห็นเฮ้เราละทวีวันนี้ที่กระเทียตินกะลมกัน statutory officer ปักขัดละลายสร้างจวงลี she is the librarian sir she is the librarian and so if you want to visit library she can take you all right thank you very much for your coming all these things can be done because of you yeah right okay thank you very much for your coming and so this is the nice time for us all especially for me okay and so like whatever I have to say is many things I said, I shared to the right persons, okay, at the right time. Thank you all, Kalome Danyavad.